The whole producer community is pissed off about this. All right, so all of this stemmed from a video that my homie Futuristic, who is a really dope independent artist out of Phoenix, Arizona, he posted a video to TikTok talking about why he would never give 50% splits to a producer on his record.
If you are a producer, there's no way I'm giving you 50% of my record. You are out of your mind, and here's why. You're not spending money to promote the song, not spending money to market it, not spending money to shoot a music video. You didn't spend money on studio time. And unless you have a big name, your name is not bigger than mine. So there's absolutely no way that I'm splitting this record with you 50-50 when I'm doing all the work to promote it and make sure people hear it. What I believe is appropriate for producers, depending on how much work they did, is anywhere between 10 and 20%. Producers, if you disagree, go ahead and let me know why. But first, think about it and get out your feelings.
Now, when I watched this video, I didn't get mad. I wasn't pissed off about it, but apparently I'm in the minority, and after the producer community got their hands on this video, it just started getting reposted and circulated, and it got posted on some of the biggest producer platforms out there, like Producer Grind. They showed it to Sunny Digital, who is obviously a very well-known producer, and he reacted to it.
First off, I ain't gonna lie, man. Fuck that nigga, man. I just gotta, I don't like that. I really don't. I don't really like that, man. I don't like that. Take away the beat, then what you got?
And then other producers went in on him, and I was just reading the comments and seeing all this negativity and hate at Futuristic because he had said that he would never give 50% splits on his record with a producer. But when you start to peel back the layers and you understand the business side and can dissect everything that he was saying in the video, even though the video wasn't specific enough in terms of what the specific scenario or situation was, that led to a lot of confusion. And so I wanted to clear the air and get it on the record of what exactly Futuristic meant when he said that he would not give 50% splits to a producer. So I jumped on a Zoom call with him and we chatted for almost an hour about this entire topic. I asked him to just clarify in depth of what he meant by this. So whether you're an artist or a producer, this entire video is going to be extremely helpful for you if you don't really understand royalties or where these royalties come from. Now, I apologize in advance. Something was going on with my Wi-Fi when we did this Zoom call, so there are points throughout the Zoom call where his video might freeze or the audio might freeze for a little bit, but the context of everything is there and you can pretty much understand everything that's being said. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's get it. Let's jump in. I got all my notes ready, bro. I got the receipts.
Boom.
Okay, so basically, you know, you put out a video, I think on TikTok originally, right?
Yeah.
And you were talking about your splits and how you do splits with producers, and the delivery of it was very direct. You didn't sugarcoat anything. First of all, what was the inspiration to make that video in the first place and talk about splits with producers?
Yeah, so basically it stemmed from just a lot of producers. Now that DistroKid and other platforms like that have splits, a lot of producers are asking for a big chunk of the record. And so as I'm making music and things like that, because back in the day, producers didn't have these splits on DistroKid. They didn't have these splits on any of these platforms. So now that it's like there's so many different ways you can negotiate, you know, cats come to the table and want 50% of something. So what I was talking about was strictly on DistroKid. When I'm making the splits on DistroKid, there's no way I'm giving you 50% of the record. So where it stemmed from was one guy who literally just played guitar on a song, who produced on the song, but not even the whole thing,
Yeah.
wanted 50% of the record.
Right.
And I'm just like, no way does that make any sense in any way, shape, or form. And then I've explained to other producers, you know, when I start working with a new producer, like how I move and what it is. And I'm just like, you're never going to get 50%. It doesn't make sense. And here's the reasons why.
Right. Right. Okay. So let's kind of break that down, right? Because I think the problem comes in when we talk about splits in general. I don't think a lot of producers or even artists really understand what that means or how that breaks down, right? So when it comes to
Correct.
the royalties that you receive from like any sort of distribution, like a DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby, United Masters, those payments that you get every month from those DSPs, from those services, are from the sound recording, from the master generating those royalties from those DSPs, from those streaming platforms. Now, it's also, to make it even more confusing, is that whenever your music is streamed on these DSPs, it also generates royalties on the publishing side. But that's not what gets paid out to the artists through these distribution companies. That comes from the actual sound recording, the actual master royalties. Those ASCAP BMI, those come from the publishing side. Those are performance royalties from the publishing side. When you're getting paid out on DistroKid or CD Baby or TuneCore, that comes strictly from the sound recording itself. And that usually goes to
Correct.
the artist or the label, right? Like those royalties are not typically shared with the songwriters or producers unless it is like a true partnership where you guys worked on the, like how me and Jaron were in the beginning, or I'm sure you might have even done this with producers that you've worked with heavily and a lot in the past, where you do splits on DistroKid, right? But you know, I
Right.
think that's where the confusion comes in when we talk about splits. Like those specific royalties are coming from the sound recording or the master. So let's just get that out of the way first, okay?
Correct.
So what you were talking about in the video was on that sound recording royalty from the distribution services and not the publishing, correct?
Correct. Yes, very correct. Yes.
Okay. And to add on to that, that's after paying the producer upfront for a fee, or what was your arrangement in that specific
So
scenario?
so every every producer is different. You know, every producer has a different rate. Every producer moves a different way. Some producers don't want upfront money. They just want to be a part of the project. And in those instances, like I've given producers, I actually have given a producer 50% of my album, and it made no sense. It made no sense to do. You know, through the DistroKid split, we literally, it was a very, we made the album together, right? We made all songs together. He produced the beats. Obviously, I was the sound and all that. But when it came time to market them, obviously, I was spending a ton of money to do all of those things. So I have paid 50% to a producer before, but usually it's like on this album, I'm paying the producers a flat fee. And then I'm also giving them percentages of songs. Anybody who touches the song, I'm giving them a percent of through DistroKid for what they did on
Right.
top of paying them out. So some of the guitar players, or the guitar player once paid hourly. The other guy once paid per track, like the main producer who's touching the whole track, putting it all together and engineering it. He wants a flat fee, and I'm giving him percentages on DistroKid. So everybody's deal is a little bit different.
Right. Right. And I feel like that's how it should be, right? It's like,
Yeah.
so I read a comment from my producer homies SNC, and they were like, every situation is different, which is true. Like it should be based on a sliding scale, you know, dependent on your relationship with them, how much work they put into the actual song or the project, and other factors. Like there's not one size fits all when it comes to splits, but particularly like it's crazy because ever since you put that video out, like you have gotten, that video has been shared on Producer Grind. They showed it to Sunny Digital, and Sunny Digital had some not so nice things to say about it. Uh, Superstar O,
Right.
who is another producer homie of mine, did like a whole YouTube video on it. DJ Payne won, and the whole and part of, you know, the BeatStars camp. And so everyone is like, but these are all producers or producer communities that I think weren't fully understanding what you were saying. And you know, DJ Payne one kind of called you out on not using the right terminology when it came to the
Right.
mechanicals, which are mechanical royalties for the publishing. But you were talking about something different. But I do think
Yeah.
that he still, you know, bro went
That
hard
dude
on
hates
you.
me.
He went
That
hard
dude
on you.
hates me.
And I'm not sure if y'all
Yeah.
have like a
So
prior history or something, but I feel like
no,
it was kind of unfair.
I mean, the whole thing is kind of crazy because at the end of the day, I never said paying producers. I never said that I've never paid for a beat. Like I've paid $15,000 for one beat before. Like I go out of my way to make sure that everybody that I work with is taken care of. So like for me, it's just like I know me, I know who I get down, how I get down, and the people that work with me and have worked with me know how I get down. So DJ Payne was a weird one because they invited me to talk at the MEC pod or the MEC tour that you were actually a part of. So when he
Yeah.
like came at me crazy, I'm like, I don't know him like that, but I'm like, you should know me better than like how you're coming at me. And it's like, at the end of the day, I don't want to say that I don't care because like the intention of this video was not to bang on producers at all. The intention of this video was now that these splits are available, there are some people that are getting carried away in their ask, and there are artists that are getting taken advantage of on the side of producers coming in and being like, I'll do this for you, but I need 50%. Because when you break it down, the artist is going out and doing all these different things, and the producer basically washes their hands and goes on and sends the same pack of beats to 50 other people. So
Right.
it's just like in that scenario, this case just doesn't make sense to give somebody 50% of your song. And the reason why I was so passionate in the video was not just because the one person who was like trying to take 50% of my joint, but it was person after person after person being like, yo, this guy wants to do this deal. And I'm like, bam, if you're going to go pay for influencer marketing, you're going to shoot a music video, you're going to do all these things, why should that person be entitled to 50% of that? And really in no instance does that make sense. And when I say like, unless your name is da 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 da, it's like if me and you did a record together, your platform is valuable. And if you're gonna be promoting the record like it's yours, then it might make sense for me and you to be like, we sit down, we make an EP, and then we put it out and we go 50-50. But there's no, I'm not paying you for that. You know what I'm saying? You're not buying my feature like I'm not buying your beat. That makes sense. Like you're not buying my feature to get on your beat, just like I'm not buying your beat. We're doing a 50-50 partnership and releasing it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw a lot of the comments from the producer grind post, and you know, all the producers were like, "Oh, well, let's see him drop an acapella album and see who listens." And I think
I was like, yo, I'm gonna drop an acapella song just so they could see that at the end of the day, because of the way the algorithm is too, like I'm still gonna get streams. Where if you're a producer that doesn't have a following, if you drop a beat, nobody's gonna hear it. If you drop a song with an unknown artist, nobody's gonna hear it. If I put out an acapella song, it's gonna get 100,000 streams.
yeah. And that wasn't even really the point, right? Like at that point it's just like arguing about who is more valuable. And in this equation, like yes, when it comes down to the music, the lyrics is half, the music is half. That's how I see it.
Correct.
And that's
50-50.
why 50-50. And that's why the publishing is set up the way it is. Because literally, when you talk about publishing, we're talking about the composition. The composition breaks down to lyrics and music. And you had nothing to say about like not paying producers their publishing. Like you were all about making sure that the producers get their portion of the publishing, which if it was just you and another producer, I'm assuming they would get 50%, right? On the publishing side. Your
Correct.
whole
All day,
thing
every day.
all day. So that wasn't the issue. To to me, the issue comes in when we start talking about who owns the sound recording, which is the finished product, right? And that finished product is you uploading it to DistroKid. DistroKid puts that sound recording on streaming platforms, and that is what's generating royalties, and that's what they pay you out on. But that music doesn't just like get playlisted by itself. It doesn't just find its way in front of millions of monthly listeners, right? Like that is your platform that you have built. Those are futuristic fans that are listening to that sound recording, and that's what's earning royalties. Now, it also generates money on the publishing side, but as long as the producer has a publishing administrator, like they're going to collect that money. Like that's not what you're getting paid through DistroKid on. That's through a separate pub admin service like SONGTRUST. But
Correct.
to your point, like, so we can agree that there is a scenario where you would pay a producer 50% on the streaming royalties on the master side, like through DistroKid, right?
If me and you right now did an EP and we both pushed the EP and you use your platform and I use mine, I think that it would be right to go 50-50.
I want to talk about, because another thing that I saw in the comments was like, oh, well, he's not investing thousands of dollars into beat making software and plugins and all this like all this gear, and he hasn't invested tens of thousands of hours into making beats and learning the software. And I'm just like thinking to myself, it's insane that people don't understand like they're two different art forms. So he might have not spent all this time and money on learning how to make beats, but I'm sure he spent a lot of time and money learning how to rap and write songs. And, like it's a different skill set. So can you talk about what are some of the financial costs and investments that you've made as an independent artist?
Oh my gosh, hundreds of thousands of dollars for sure. If you start at the beginning, it's you don't know how to do your own stuff, so you're paying for studio time, right? Maybe you're buying on to shows. You're paying for venue rentals. You're paying for broke down fees so you can open up on different tours and go out on the road. You're paying for your DJ. You're paying for producers. You're paying for marketing. You're paying for graphics. You're paying for when you build your own studio to record at your house. You're paying for all that equipment. You're paying for once you get a little bigger, you're paying for a bigger staff. You're paying for merchandise. You're paying for a crew. You're paying for a tour bus. You're paying for stuff all the time, and marketing, influencer marketing, advertising, a PR person, a radio campaign.
Right.
The list goes on and on and on. So yeah, you're definitely spending a ton of money to music. I didn't even say music videos. Like,
Yeah.
think about, I have probably 300 music videos out. You know what I mean? Like, but even then, buying cameras for your videographers. Like, those are all things. Buying lighting or renting it. Like, there's just so many things that an artist spends money on. Outside of, I mean, that same studio that the producer might be talking about. I've built that studio 5 times. Plus, I leave that room and I go and spend money everywhere else to make sure that the song is successful.
Right.
So it's a lot. It's definitely a lot of bread. And the whole thing kind of sucks because at the end of the day, my platform is meant to inspire and help. And I think what people also, which I'll take the blame for, a lot of the artists on my platform, as much as publishing has been talked about, they pretty much just bank on DistroKid. So when I'm speaking to my platform of the artists that are on my platform, that's the main way they're making money, and that's the main thing that they're focusing on. So when I refer to splits For my 20,000 followers on Indie Amplify, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, when you take that and you put it on Producer Grind, they're used to getting splits on the publishing side.
Yeah.
So I think the whole thing was just taken out of context because these 20,000 people, when they saw it, were very aware of what I was talking about. And then these 250,000 people are ready to throw hands, when in all reality, what I'm actually saying in my post is probably giving them more than what they're already getting, because I would give them 50% and give them 10 or 15, because I want producers to feel like they're a part of my record. Like, I bought beats and not given any percentage on the DistroKid side and felt bad about it. I have videos about that where I'm like, for example, the song with NF called Epiphany just hit 60 million streams. I bought that beat for $400.
Yeah.
So it's like, if that dude would have took 15%, he'd have bread right now.
Hell yeah.
So at the end of the day, and I'm pretty sure I offered him that back in the day. Like, I've always offered, yeah, I'll do, 10%, 15%. And it used to be a pain in the ass because I was on TuneCore that didn't have splits. And I was paying out producers manually every month, going through and figuring out what the percentage was of each song and paying them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it sucks because at the end of the day, what I give producers is usually more than what they're getting in any other situation. It's just sometimes they get carried away talking about 50%, and it's like, you didn't put in on this, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole thing. So yeah,
I mean,
it's a
bro,
tough situation.
I'm always saying to producers, like, it doesn't matter how much of the record you own if nobody is pushing the song. And usually when it comes down to pushing the song, that's on the artist. Now, I wish more producers would step up and be more hands-on and be a part of the process and want to get in the studio and actually touch the records and actually produce. It's kind of crazy that I got to say that, but like, actually produce the songs.
Well, there's a difference.
There's a big difference. And then actually, I understand that not every producer is comfortable with creating content or being on camera, and that leads to them, maybe not having the biggest platform where they can support it in terms of promo and marketing and stuff like that. But at least if you're not doing that, then you need to actually be in the studio, like touching the songs and touching the records and just being more involved in the whole process, rather than just sitting in your crib or in your basement emailing beats to artists and then asking for 50% of the streaming royalties from the sound recording. So a big part of your platform and how you got a lot of fans, especially early on during your come up, is that you were able to put out a lot of visual content, like a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube content. Can you talk about how you were able to do that at such an early stage in your career when, we all know videos and cameras and camera gear, it costs a lot, and to have a director that can shoot your videos too. So how were you able to put out so much visual content?
So in the very beginning, I had two very pivotal pieces. I had a producer who I split stuff with 50-50. But he actually split all the costs 50-50. So me and him both we split all the little fees on TuneCore. We split every marketing fee, everything we did, we split 50-50, and we also split the profit 50-50. Then my videographer, my deal with him, because he was just starting to shoot music videos, was he shot the videos and they went on his channel instead of mine. And then eventually, I was popping off. So then he was getting other bookings because of the videos he shot for me. And at one point in time, I was actually managing his emails and booking his videos for him. And also I had other people doing videos under him, like different price tiers. Anyways, once the YouTube channel started making money, we split it 50-50. So the reason why I was able to get so many videos was because he was getting paid on the back end from the YouTube monetization from my music videos. And I was his case study, or I was, his proof
portfolio.
Of concept, I was his portfolio. Like, if you go to his YouTube channel, I think there's like 70 videos that have 1 million views and I'm 65 of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, that was kind of what it was. And we just came up together. And yes, I was 50-50 with him, and I was 50-50 with Action, my producer.
That's dope. So you really are about like just the going all in with other creative partners, like people who
Yeah,
can bring different skill sets to the table and really come up together.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's just when you have that partnership and you feel like everybody's working for the same cause and everybody's trying to come up and everybody's trying to, make it, or everybody's just supporting each other, then yeah, it's like, let's do it together.
Right.
Same way you were with Jaren. It's like, yo, I believe in you, you believe in me. Let's go. Like, yes, we're gonna work with other people and do other stuff, but like we together are this unstoppable force.
Yeah. Damn, I wish streaming came around sooner, because if we would have done 50-50 on all of me and Jaren's projects, like I'd be good. I'd be so good right now. And I still am good, but I feel like
Yeah.
it was weird because we came up kind of in a transitional period when streaming wasn't a thing when we first started like putting out music and like doing the funk volume
Yeah.
thing and touring, and we kind of transitioned into that like midway into our career. So it was a weird transition, but
Right.
no, that's dope. That's
Likewise.
dope because I very much believe in the 50-50 partnerships. Let's talk about kind of your recent music. I feel like you've almost reinvented yourself and your sound. Uh, is that, is that like kind of scary to make that leap? Because so many of your fans know you for rap and the music that you were making before. Were you worried about what your core fans would think about your new music?
I feel like over the last like 5 years, I've continued to reinvent myself. Like every project has just been mad different. So like I was I was scared the first time, you know, and then I've continued. I wouldn't say I was scared now. I just kind of feel like be me. I feel like at the end of the day, what I'm doing is me, and whether I'm rapping, whether I'm making rock music, what I'm making, as long as my morals, my lyrics, everything ties into who I am as a human being, then I can make whatever I want to make. And
Mm.
actually, this project is performing already better. This is the first time I haven't had anything crack my Spotify top 5 and stay there for longer than a week since like 2016 or 17.
Mm.
And I have 3 new songs in my Spotify top 5, and that's never happened. So, um, and I love it. And what's crazy, what people don't understand or know about me is like the WTF, which was my brand, actually was my band's name in 2010 and 11. So we would play a heavy metal show, we'd play a reggae show, we play a rap show, and when we opened up for people like Machine Gun Kelly or Yellow Wolf or Hobson or whoever, I'd have my full band and we would play every genre. So we got booked for everything. The only reason why the band kind of split up was I was getting booked to go on tours, and these dudes had jobs and lives that they didn't want to leave. So it was like I had to make the jump and do me. So
Right.
then when everything popped off, it was like nobody really got to see my band. And back then, we didn't have the money to record full band stuff. So it was like I was recording my music and then the band was backing me at shows. But we didn't record any full band stuff because it wasn't easy to do that back then.
Right. Right.
So yeah, the this type of music has always been in my blood. I mean, I grew up my dad playing in bands, my brother playing guitar, my other brother playing drums. So it's always been in me. So this actually, honestly, I haven't felt this good about making music in probably like 7, 8 years.
Mm. Are you going back to the rap stuff after you get, all the new type of futuristic stuff out of the way, or like how do you balance that?
Yeah, I think that honestly, I've been thinking about it a lot, and especially with doing these 2 tours at the same time, I enjoyed the rock tour so much because I feel like I was able to do something new, and I was able to really be me and controlling the band and orchestrating that, and like being able to go off the cuff and do whatever with the band is super dope. And so I think there's a way I don't really want to jump back and forth necessarily. I think that both can kind of live, but at the same time, I think the move for me is having rock influence in every futuristic song that comes out. So whether
Mhm.
there's hip hop drums, whether there's whatever, it's like I think that the rock influence in everything that I do is how I want to move forward with my original projects. I think I'll still do rap features. Because so many of my homies are in the rap space and want to do that from scratch and have live instrumentation.
Got you. So it's more of like it's kind of like an evolution of
Yeah,
your music, which is dope.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think you got to evolve, and I think I've been experimenting for, like I said, like 5 years, all sorts of different stuff. But this feels amazing.
Right, right. All right, so you've made a lot of money off of your merch. Um, what are the key things that indie artists need to know about getting their merch line off the ground?
Yeah, I think that the thing is creating a brand that you stand for and your fans can stand for. I think any successful merch line from an artist that I've seen, eventually some of them turn into full blown clothing lines. It's always something that your fans can stand behind, believe in. It's not just putting your album cover on a t-shirt. It's what's your brand, who are you, and what do you represent, and then building stuff, building merch that is that. And so like how Fora has yours truly, and he does $1 million in a day on every Black Friday, or like I'm on tour with Echo right now, and he has Heart Hop. It's not like he's just selling Echo shirts; he's selling Heart Hop, something that people tat on their skin. It's his brand. I had WTF. That's my brand. So it's really creating a brand that people resonate with and want to be a part of.
So, how much how much money do you think you've made off of your merch?
Oh
If you
man,
had to
in 10
guess.
years, I don't know. I mean, let's just say,
I mean, or even just like annually,
I mean,
like
even if you made tours, I mean, if you're doing well on merch, I mean, you can annually easily make six figures on merch.
yeah,
Especially if you're touring, you can make six figures in a tour easily off merch. You might make more money off merch than you do off shows.
yeah,
You open for an act, and that's what I tell people, all the time. We help people buy onto tours on indie, and they're like, "Oh, it's pay to play," and I'm like, "Yeah, but at the same time, if you go sell your merch and you put on a good show, you're still going to make money and you're going to gain fans. And if you do the right things, like have a number that they can text, have an email list, get their information and collect their data, then now that could be a lifelong fan that buys an album, buys a t-shirt, buys a hat, comes to the next show, and now you converted that $200 you paid to get on into hopefully $500 that night on merch, plus person spends another $500 with you before within your career. So
facts.
it's your fault if you spend that money and go there with no merch and no plan and no
Right.
banner and nothing to present yourself. So yeah, no, but you can make six figures on merch a year, and the big cats are making seven plus. A lot of
Yeah.
people, and that's why they say a lot of people make more money off their merch than their music.
Yeah, I feel like especially if you're going on tour with an artist where you have a lot of like crossover with your fan bases, like that's a layup. Like
Yeah,
that's an opportunity to not only just make hella new fans that are streaming your music, buying your merch, like that is to me one of the best ways, like when you get in front of people and you put on a good show for them and get to interact like in person. That's one of the things that I learned from touring with Jaron, just how impactful that is. And that's why I created my own tour and wasn't content just sitting behind my computer, you know, Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and email and text, like that's all cool, but I wanted to get in front of people because I know how valuable that
yeah,
is.
yeah. And plus, I feel like that's the payoff. Like, you're
100%.
you're you're sitting behind the screen, and we're all talking and giving game, or dropping music or whatever we do as creators, but there's other people on the other side of that screen, and it's like, don't be so disconnected to where, like, you never go touch those people, you know?
Yeah.
And so like, I think being on tour and talking with people in person, like there's nothing bigger than that. Like when you have a fan cry or you have somebody tell you changed their life in person, it hits a lot different than seeing a comment pop up on your screen when you're doing a million other things, you know? So
Facts.
yeah, there's really nothing like it. Yeah.
How do you feel about artists saying recently that they're getting blackballed by the music industry and it's affecting their album sales and their rollouts? Like, do you think that's a real thing?
Um, I'm actually kind of sleep on that. Who's been saying that?
So, I mean, it's like, I think last time DaBaby released his
Okay, yeah.
album, he was selling like 200,000 the first week. Now his recent album, I think it sold maybe 20,000 first week. Tory Lanez, I think, did roughly the same numbers. His most recent album, which he's independent now, so that might have something to do
Right,
with it. But
right.
I don't know. I mean, do you feel like getting blackballed by the industry is even possible in 2022?
I don't think so. I mean, your numbers can definitely change a lot if your label's not backing you and doing the thing they're, I guess, supposed to do. But at the end of the day, sales come from fans.
Right.
Real sales come from fans. So if your fans aren't buying your project, then that's on you.
Or
If
streaming it.
I could sit, you could get blackballed from festivals or shows or venues or things like that, which could affect sales or streams. So I can see that happening. But as far as like diehard fan base that streams your music, no, you can't get blackballed. How? Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, Spotify could say we're not putting the baby in any playlist. Hurt your numbers. Apple Music. If
But are
Apple
those
Music,
real
Spotify,
fans? If most of your streams are coming from Rap Caviar, aren't those just like casual music fans who might be listening to your
it's
shit in a playlist but aren't actually listening to your music every day? Like, oh, I'm gonna go to so and so Spotify. I'm going to play every single song that he's released this year. Like, what is the definition of a real fan if all your music is coming from playlists? You know what I mean?
well, I guess the question though is, are we talking about numbers or are we talking about fans? Because if you're talking about numbers, if the baby was getting on the top 30 hip hop playlist, that probably every single day a million streams at least.
Right.
So if you're not on those playlists anymore, then yeah, you're missing out on at least a million streams a day. But yeah, in the grand scheme of the baby's numbers, I mean, it's a hit. But if you have diehard fans, like you said, the other streams should much more surpass and outweigh those. And you're with your algorithm and your fan base and your followers, yeah, I mean, you should be able to get your streams. So
Yeah. I mean, because you as an independent artist, like you have what, 1 million monthly listeners or somewhere like around that, kind of
yeah,
might fluctuate a little bit, but I feel like it's been pretty consistent, right?
yeah. As an independent artist, I've been around 1 million monthly listeners since Spotify came out. I feel like, yeah.
And do you get a lot of playlist love, or is that all just kind of like
No,
futuristic, like
I
fans?
I didn't really get playlist love until this project, to be honest. And it's kind of crazy because I've signed, distribution deals and went with different companies. And I got a couple playlists here and there, but I've gotten more on these last four records in the pop punk genre than I ever got in the rap space, really.
Hmm. Um, Anything else you want to touch on? I feel like we covered the the bulk of what I wanted to get out of the way. But anything else that you want
Yeah, yeah.
to discuss?
No, I think for me, I don't know what you're gonna do with this footage or where it's gonna go or anything like that. The intent of the content that I make is to inspire, educate, and help independent artists that are in similar situations that I've been through. So any content that I've made has been out of personal experience or experience that I've witnessed other artists go through. And I've been in this industry professionally now for 10 years and I've seen a lot of things go down. So at the end of the day, all producers should be getting paid, all artists should be getting paid, and every situation is different. And it sucks that obviously that turned into what it turned into. But at the end of the day, I still stand by 50-50 on the distro kid. Doesn't make sense in all situations. And as far as the publishing, please always pay 50% to your producer. Please always set your publishing up properly. But yeah, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to do in this music space, and I will continue to educate and help artists get to the next level.
So you're not anti-producer. You're not trying to steal money out our pockets or take advantage of us. You know.
Nah, never, never. Yeah, like I said, the craziest thing I think about that, and I didn't even read the comments. I commented one time, and I think maybe responded to one person. I was like, I'm not looking at these, because at the end of the day, I know what my mission is and I know what my purpose is. But like I said, I know for a fact that most of those guys on there complaining, I'm paying producers more than and giving them more than those guys are getting, because I am giving 50% on the publishing and still giving 10% split on the distro kit as well. So I'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just from my experience as a producer, like that is more than generous. The fact that they're getting their publishing and you're breaking them off 10 to 20% on the DistroKid pay, like that is more than generous to me, especially if you're a producer just sitting in your room emailing beats and you're not in the studio like actually touching the music.
Yeah.
That is very generous. So
well, and I think too, the last thing to add to that is the reason why is because as an independent artist who's not on the radio, your publishing checks are a lot smaller than what your DistroKid statements are.
For sure.
Right. So like I would feel unfair if I'm giving somebody 50% of just the publishing when, if I'm bringing in $30,000-$40,000 a month on DistroKid and like they don't see any of that, it's like it's almost like they're not getting paid in comparison because I'm not on big TV shows all the time. I'm not in radio. As an independent artist, that's kind of the reality, So that's why I think you should still break producers off from those DSPs, is because as an independent artist, that's where your money really comes from.
Yeah, no, facts. So producer grind, I hope they see this. Sunny Digital, Superstar. Oh, I'm actually jumping on a kind of this podcast style discussion tomorrow with Superstar O, so we can kind of talk about it from the producer's perspective too. But
super dope.
I got even called out from other producers because I was like, yo, he's not wrong. Like the delivery was a little bit harsh, but bro is not wrong.
Right.
Like y'all producers can't be demanding 50% of the record if you're not bringing any extra value to the table. You know what I mean?
Well, and you're one of the producers that really understands that because you're also a crazy content creator and you bring extra value,
Yeah. I mean, there's very few of us, I think there's a handful of producers like, I saw TM88, who produced EXO Tour Life for Lil Uzi Vert, work with Drake and Future. Like he has large credits. I think he actually has a major label deal with maybe Capitol Records too as an artist. So, and Sunny Digital is also an artist, and Metro Boomin puts out his own production albums where he grabs features and puts them on his music. He's not a rapper, but he's like producing these songs and putting them out under his name. The DJ Khaled's of the world, like these are the guys that are able to come to the negotiating table and be like, yo, I'm taking 50% of the master because I bring more value to the table. But, like I said before, it's a sliding scale. If you're at the other end of the DJ Khaled's and the Metro Boomins, where you're just a kid making beats, sending tracks out, emailing beats out to artists, you don't have nearly as much leverage, right? So it's really hard for you to be hitting up these artists, asking them for 50% of the master if you don't bring that value to the table. And then there's guys kind of in the middle. I consider myself not exactly DJ Khaled level, but like somewhere in the middle of that, where I can
Right.
do a joint project with you or a joint project with Abi the Nomad, and we go 50-50. Like, I'm sharing the cost. Like, he's coming over to my crib. I'm not charging him upfront for the beats, but we're all eating on the back end. Like, it's a sliding scale, and at the end of the day, it's all about what you can negotiate, what your relationship is like with that collaborator,
Facts.
what type of value you're bringing to the table, like what your beats sound like, how big your platform is. Like, there's so many different variables, but I think it's important for producers to know, number one, you know, the distinction between publishing and the sound recording, and where all those, how all those different
Right.
royalties break down, where they come from. And then number two, just understanding where you sit in that spectrum of the DJ Khaled's and the bedroom producer sitting at home emailing beats. You know, it's everything in between.
Right.
So
Right.
you know, that's it. I just wanted to add clarity to the situation, because I feel like your video was kind of taken out of context, and producers were coming at you, bro. Like,
For sure.
it was
For sure.
insane. So but you know, you're my homie, and
Yeah. Like I
I
said,
wanted to,
I stayed out. I stayed out the comments, and
no, I was just gonna say, like, you know, because we're friends and we're actually working on a project together now,
yeah.
which is more in line of like 50-50 down the middle. I just felt like we needed to clear the air, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate you always hopping on there and throwing the 2 cents in there and letting people know. And like I said, yeah, hopefully, you know, some people see this video. Obviously, when something goes viral, it goes viral and ain't no taking it back. But hopefully some people see this video and it does add some clarity to that initial video. So appreciate the interview and excited to see what comes from it.
If you enjoyed this video, please do your boy a favor, like, subscribe, drop a comment, all that good stuff. I got a lot more videos on the way.